Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, it's Kid the Nutritionist here today, and this is going to be the second part of how vitamin A toxicity will impact people by depleting their nutrients. Now, the first video I went over was in regards to your fat-soluble vitamins, like C, D, E, K, and your minerals. Part 2 is going to be solely on your B vitamins. Now, regardless of what you believe in, right? Some people always have to ask and clarify, right? Is vitamin A toxic? And is it bad for you? And where I'm coming from, right, is a perspective that people who took Accutane were taking a very high dose of vitamin A for months to years. These people have a lot of this fat-soluble vitamin A in their body. Now, whether you call it a retinoid or, whether it's going to be the retinol conversion or whatever have you, right, compared to a synthetic version or a natural version, it really doesn't matter because the way your body will metabolize it, based on liver phase 1 and 2 metabolism, it's going to break it down all the same through your intermediate reactions and through specifically glucuronidation, right? So whether it's synthetic or it's natural, whatever argument you want to use, it's kind of null and void because your body still has to detox it the same way. Now, what makes it more interesting is, again, right, you're taking crazy high doses, right? Had some guy come to me who, for months, right, was taking an equivalent to 115,000 IUs for like months, even a year. I've seen people go up to 50 milligrams twice a day, which is 165,000 IUs. And that's because, like, the RDA, right, is like 3,000. And just 1 milligram of an Accutane can be like 3,300. When you do 5 milligrams of Accutane, you're already past the upper limit. There are some studies that show short dose 100,000 IUs are okay. But again, right, we're talking about something that's fat soluble. You don't just piss it out. You don't just poop it out. Your body has to metabolize it. It's got to go through the gauntlet. And eventually, over time, your body will detox it. But as your body's trying to detox it, right, it needs to compensate for this high amount of vitamin A that's going to wreak havoc on your body. Now, we can look at the symptoms of Accutane, Isotretinoin, or whichever form you're taking, and we can cry about it and complain about them. But I'm trying to come at this from the perspective that you have a lot of vitamin A, your body needs to metabolize all of it, right? It's not slowly going to be detox, right? It's in fact the other processes of how your body reacts, especially vitamin A, which is known for helping your skin. But that's because you're depleting stem cells a little early, you have that premature turnover that's occurring, and people have that nice, pretty skin, but eventually you get side effects, eventually that goes away, and then you don't feel any better, right? So let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start with B1. Now, B1 is really important because a lot of people, they're deficient in B1, they feel sad, they feel depressed, they have low energy, and the reality is your B vitamins as a whole, they're going to help you with eating your food, whether you're doing carbs, whether it's their fats, to some extent your proteins, to take that energy and to utilize it, right? I mean, I'm sure you've heard about, ATP, mitochondria of the cell, right? The powerhouse, right? You have this energy being made to fuel your body and to fuel the processes that go with your body, right? It's got to fuel your brain, your liver, your kidneys, your muscles, walking around, whatever you're doing, right? So a lot of people, that are, that have taken Accutane and eventually they hit the point of no return where they have these side effects, they often talk about feeling chronic fatigue and feeling like shit. And partly due to the fact that they're having deficiencies in B vitamins, and your B vitamins are essential for helping you metabolize the food you eat to become energy so your body can use it. And this is going to be one of those big recurring issues. Okay, so you're going to have, reactive aldehydes, right? When you're converting and detoxing vitamin A. You're going to have lipid peroxidation. This can also be in congruency with seed oils. Alcohol metabolism, right? When you drink alcohol, you got to convert that from alcohol dehydrogenase to aldehyde dehydrogenase to then be detoxed. You also have the neurotransmitter metabolism, which needs to be metabolized just like everything else in the body. So the thing about phase 1, phase 2, I want to make clear, right, is it's not detoxing everything bad. It's just your body has natural processes that you have these metabolic byproducts that they need to leave the body, and that's just part of the process of taking something in and getting it out. So it's not all inherently toxic, but when you go to the intermediate phase between phase 1 and phase 2, there could be problems, right? Which is why I tell people to read my article or the guide on glutathione, because it's going to help buffer that part. So when you have alcohol dehydrogenase working, right, thiamine can indirectly support this by having your mitochondrial metabolism and balanced cell redox. So as this occurs, right, your efficiency of making more energy for mitochondria may decline, energy demand rises, which is a catch-22 when you think about it, and at some point you hit a metabolic bottleneck, right? This is just one part of the Krebs cycle, right, for making energy. We're not even talking about B2, B3, B7, B9, B12, they're all essential, B6. So what makes thiamine important in this part, I would say like the first part of the Krebs cycle, is it helps you with converting glucose, right? Helps you with your fatty acids, helps you with your branched chain amino acids, it helps you with NADPH, which, is further down the line when it comes to like B3 for making energy, right? So for some people, right, if you're lacking thiamine, you could feel like you have less energy, as we covered. You could feel a lot more tired easily when you're working out or just going through the day. You would feel a lot more fatigue in your muscles, like easily. Oxidative stress may worsen. Again, mitochondria, less energy. And I've had people talk to me like, hey man, I hear, what's the guy's name? Elliot Overton. He's the big vitamin B1 guy. I think he has really good ideas and concepts about vitamin B1, right? Especially in a world full of sugar in the fed American diet, people are gonna need thiamine. But what I really like about Elliot is he understands the importance of why people need to have magnesium with thiamine. Because the people that take thiamine and they don't notice anything, it's because they have magnesium as a cofactor to help the body, metabolize and really utilize thiamine. So whether you're talking about thiamine hydrochloride, whether you're talking about benfotiamine, there's also the Japanese one, what was it? The TTFD, the sulfur-based one. I'm not a fan of that one. People tend to react to that one, usually because they need molybdenum. But point being, right, is like a horse and a carriage, right? You need to have thiamine and magnesium, so they work together to have the processes be fulfilled correctly. So thiamine is dependent on mitochondrial ATP production. At the same time, magnesium activates thiamine-dependent enzymes, and it helps you with ATP, because you need magnesium for ATP too, right? Like, it's all interconnected. So if they're both compromised, right? You're both deficient in thiamine and magnesium. You'll notice you're just so easily tired. Your muscles are going to be really weak. You could feel a lot more stressed than usual. Although B5 takes the cake on being the chill pill, right? I argue that thiamine is going to be the chill pill most people will realize is actually amazing the whole time, right? I think B5 is the true chill pill in regards to a person that's suffering from like Lyme or heavy metal toxicity or even the potential of malt toxicity. But for the most part, I think B1 takes the cake in this regard, especially when paired with magnesium. Because you also need thiamine for nerve conduction, your neurotransmitter balance for mental health, automatic nervous system regulation. It helps with electrolyte transport across the cell membrane. So when you don't have enough thiamine, right, you can have brain fog, right? Thinking's just hard, it's cluttered, you lose an idea you had, you try and go back to it, it just doesn't come back. Maybe you get the idea like a day later and it's like, well, that's kind of useless, I just thought of something when did I need it? Poor concentration, no matter how hard you try, whether it's school or work or a topic. And what I'll say is going to be something you'll notice is it'll be in a topic you care about. Something you give a shit about, right? Let's say you're all about the news, right? You love watching the news and just, you're a political buff or whatever, right? And you just do not give a shit, right? Or you find it hard to follow. Let's say you're into, I don't know, history, right? You love history and, let's say you're into the Cold War a lot, right? And there's a Cold War documentary on and you just don't give a shit, right? Or when you're trying to follow, like you kind of care, but you don't care, like you're not committed, right? And it's not because, you just stop caring about it. It's that you have this B1 deficiency that's kind of messing with their ability to pay attention, right? So this is becoming very important with people going to class, right? I don't believe some people are stupid. I think some people just have a bad deficiency in thiamine, which is, and not just thiamine, but your B vitamins or vitamins or minerals. That's a whole, right, of poor diet. That's gonna mess with the way your body is gonna learn, right? Because I mean, you give people proper nutrition, their IQ goes up, right? Like some mystery. You're giving your body what it needs to run well. Then some people can have irritability. They're kind of impatient, right? They're kind of easily ticked off. Nothing extreme. Just when you're calm and you're not calm, when you know you should be calm, then there's an issue there. You have overstimulation and anxiety. When you take B1 and it goes away, that's fine. If you take B1 and it's still there, it could be copper overload or it could be, exposure to mold toxicity, as I've seen in my experience. Reduced stress tolerance, of course, neuropathy or nerve discomfort, because thiamine helps with the connection of your nerves. Autonomic dysfunction symptoms, that's rapid heart rate, exercise intolerance, like you just don't, kind of like to like the not giving a shit kind of thing. Let's say you're like a guy that exercises a lot or a woman that exercises a lot, right? And then you just don't really care. It could be because of that. Orthostatic intolerance or POTS. What's it? It's postular orthostatic tachycardia, where you stand up real quick and you get kind of woozy and dizziness, and because you don't have that enough pressure of the blood and the fluids going up to your brain. Because you should be able to do that and not have a problem. But if you do that and you have POTS in that regard, you could be deficient in thiamine. Thiamine's really a workhorse when it comes to everything as a whole. It helps you with vagal nerve signaling, digestive energy metabolism, and gastrointestinal motility, which is really important if you're a person that suffers from slow digestion or terrible constipation. So you would know you're kind of low, right? If, again, right, you have bloating, constipation, you're tired after eating, right? You have that reduced tolerance to carb-heavy meals or even, fats. Specifically carbs in that regard. When it comes to carbs, thiamine's like the guy for that. So, if you gotta take a siesta, a little nap, like the people in Spain do, because they have a heavy carb diet, you might need more thiamine for that, right? Or even if you're low carb, right, and you do a little bit of carbs, you're probably depleted in thiamine, so you gotta help replenish your body so you could then take this new energy you put into your body, right, and then make it become the energy, right? You can have all the tools, right? But if you eat food and you feel like shit, right? And it's not like bad food, like it's like decent, good quality food, right? That's like healthy, that's grown from the ground, and it's pretty good, and you feel bad afterwards, it could be your inability to properly metabolize it into energy, right? I know I'm beating a dead horse, right? But, the body needs energy as a currency to do everything. This is why undereating is terrible, right? This is why I don't agree much with fasting, which is fine occasionally, right? And for religious reasons. But I'm seeing people that are fasting way too often to the point where they're like depleting themselves, and that's not a good thing. Because you could definitely lose weight and eat more reasonably, right? By taking care of toxicity, having a healthy working liver. And yeah, people that work with me, they know that, and it's pretty cool. So again, people that are gonna usually be, bad in thiamine, low in it, high carb diet, drinking sodas, high sugar intake, chocolate, whatever have you, eating a lot of chips, drinking a lot of alcohol, right? I think like a minimum of 2 drinks will have an impact on your body. Chronic stress and elevated catecholamines, right? If you have a COMT mutation, go check that out. Poor diet quality, like junk food and fast food, that'll fuck you up. GI dysfunction, again, I would say from a Ozempic kind of perspective, with the late emptying, that might be problematic. So all this altogether will impact your demand for this thiamine. So just, in a nutshell, a high amount of vitamin A can deplete molybdenum because it increases the load of aldehydes, but it also depletes thiamine, and aldehyde dehydrogenase needs vitamin B1. Thiamine converts food to the energy we need. Again, deficiency, fatigue, mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic energy gridlock, because you need B1 for your Krebs cycle, TCRA, tricarboxylic acid, however you want to say it, right? Basically, your ability to make energy, right? And essentially, you need it. So some signs, right? We talked about brain fog, irritability. Another one is restless leg syndrome. I've had clients I give thiamine to, in conjunction with magnesium, of course, because again, you need them together. They're a beautiful pair. And they notice they're always like, they can't chill, they're sitting down and their legs, right, they just don't stop moving. Like they're kind of like a drummer or something, or they're dancing. Or even in bed, right, like their legs are moving and they're annoying the hell out of their spouse and they're like, stop moving, I'm trying to sleep. Thiamine can help with that. Why it helps with that, I don't know the specific mechanism per se, but it does help you a lot with, your neurons, with your nervous system. To an extent, it does help you with vertigo if, you feel like way too high and you're going to get the dizziness. It also helps with histamine intolerance, right? With making diamine oxidase and paired with molybdenum and the whole gauntlet of all that for allergies. Poor coordination. Some people, let's say you throw a ball at a kid, right? You're playing ball and you hit him in the head because, I mean, he's not stupid, right? He's just, some people have poor coordination, right? And I don't think they're clumsy. They're just possibly lacking thiamine and magnesium. So what do clients experience when they get the thiamine and magnesium? More physical energy, more mental energy for thinking. I think your brain uses a lot of energy, right? Between 25 to 35% of your body's energy needs goes to the brain. Have you ever taken a test before, or you're doing like some hardcore studying? Although you have been sedentary, right? You're fucking tired as shit. Because thinking requires brain power, and if you think a lot, you're using a lot of energy. Some people are great thinkers, right? I know I'm one of them that will just think and think and think all day, right? And you get tired from overthinking, right? Sometimes you gotta rest by not thinking or just watching a movie or, just chilling, right? Enjoying nature. But even then, I think a lot. But if you're a person that has like terrible overthinking where you can't like stop it and put a halt to it, I guess we'll call it restless overthinking. B1 can help with that. So let's know anxiety, calmer body, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, very vital for the relaxation part, right? Able to tolerate more carbs, better bowel movement, and less constipation. Very beautiful. Pooping is awesome. And again, right, I want people to know that vitamins and minerals work best together, right? So, with that being said in mind, right, you can't take a bunch of B vitamins and expect to feel amazing, right? You can't take a bunch of minerals and expect to be amazing, right? They have to be paired together properly, right? Now, unfortunately, I haven't found a good multivitamin because they're all fucking shit. They're abysmal. They're terrible. There's always something in a multivitamin I hate. I mean, I find a decent B vitamin, right? But again, right, like I just wish like I could have one pill for my clients they could take, or it's not a stupid crazy high dose that's gonna like really mess with them. But again, right, that's a different grape for a different day. So, in terms of like a very hardcore severe B1 deficiency, you have Wernicke-Korsakoff. People can have confusion. I think the big one with this one is ophthalmopleglia. That's where people have like the lazy eye. So they notice people when they have the lazy eye, right, and they have the Wernicke syndrome, right, they give them plenty of B1, and they notice that doctors do the pen thing where you got to follow it with your eyes. That they kind of lose the lazy eye when they take enough vitamin B1, of course, and magnesium too, because it works against the gradient. And yeah, it helps people. So if you know someone with a lazy eye and it's not like a accident kind of thing, this could help them. Then you have polyneuropathy, which is basically neuropathy in the hands and the feet. Let's see, confabulation, that's another one. So confabulation is when you know a person that is making shit up, right? Like let's say you went with a person to the store, you went to watch a movie, and then you went back home and you talked to, your friend about how the day went, right? Like your other friend. And then your friend with the B1 deficiency is like, yeah, man, we ate and then we went to fucking like, I don't know, went to the hood, bought some drugs, killed some people, and then we went back home, right? And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's crazy as shit, dude. Well, the next day, talking about how you took a portal and you fought goblins or like you were Lord of the Rings or something. And it's like, all right, yeah, this guy's confabulating. He's crazy. He needs some vitamin B1, right? So again, right, this could be a big issue. I knew a guy named Nick. And if you know me in high school, you know the guy. Funny stories. Okay, so vitamin B2, riboflavin, mitochondrial stress, antioxidant collapse. So, vitamin B2 is really important for, again, mitochondrial energy production, as you established with all the B vitamins to an extent. Antioxidant recycling, a very big one. It has coenzyme forms, FAD, flavine adenine dinucleotide, FMN, flavin mononucleotide, required for a lot of reactions in the body, blah 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 blah. You need it for your mitochondrial complexes of 1 and 2. It's like kind of the beginning part of the electron transport chain to make those reactions occur and to happen, right? Because you have complex 1, you have NADH dehydrogenase via FMN, complex 2, succinate dehydrogenase, FAD, and again, you need it to form energy. So, now that I'm thinking about it, right? If a person feels a need for methylene blue, you might have a riboflavin deficiency. And this could be probably said in people that get a lot of sunlight, because for some reason, riboflavin is very sensitive to sunlight. And that's a little connection there if that makes any sense. But yeah, I think people, if they have a need for methylene blue, which is toxic garbage in my opinion, you might just need riboflavin. So again, need it for energy. So where I find B2 to be important, right, riboflavin, is you need it for the first part of vitamin B6 to help you convert it into P5P or PLP. People that take B6 a lot, or didn't know they took like 100 or 500 milligrams, which is crazy, that have the peripheral neuropathy damage from taking B6, they'll notice that they have that bottleneck in riboflavin and zinc to have the conversions happen. You also need B2 to help in the pathway for folate to convert into 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is the active form of vitamin B9 folate. You also need it for NAD+ for your B3 metabolism. You need it, which is really important, for glutathione recycling through glutathione reductase, and this helps you to kind of conserve it and to recycle it instead of, wasting a lot more effort to make it anew, if that makes any sense. Also, it plays a small role in collagen synthesis, so we talk about all these other things, but, B2 could be missing. So, riboflavin, if it's low, could cause impaired methylation, reduce antioxidant defense, poor detox efficiency, neurotransmitter imbalance, and increase oxidative stress due to all that. So again, glutathione helps you regenerate oxidized glutathione back into its active reduced form. So the reduced form of glutathione is what does the magic. It's what does the antioxidant portion, right? So if you buy a glutathione supplement, right, or whatever, and it's not the reduced form, it doesn't mean it's inferior, it means it's the active form that the body uses. It's just what it's named. So if you find a glutathione and it says reduced, don't think you're being hoodwinked. That's the form you want. And you want some kind of liposomal form of it for your body to absorb it. So we need it again for neutralizing free radicals, especially important for neutralizing non-radicals, which nothing else really works with that besides catalase, but you don't want to deplete that, Protects your mitochondria, phase 2 detox and conjugation pathways, process lipid peroxidation, byproducts, and aldehydes. And again, right, you need glutathione, and, riboflavin does play a big role. It may seem insignificant, but it does play a big role. Needed for doing flavine-containing monooxygenases, monoamine oxidases, aldehyde oxidase systems. Helps you metabolize aldehydes, biogenic amines, histamine, neurotransmitters, and hormone metabolites. So again, right, just to not beat the horse over the head again, because the horse is dead and stinking rotten, yeah, a lot of vitamin A is going to cause damage to your body. Because again, it's a high amount, it's teterogenic, it's also mutagenic, which means it damages your DNA and it'll damage, your body, your tissue, and your cells, right? Because you're overusing the turnover. So if you're low in B2, it could be signs of dry or inflamed skin, which we notice a lot in Accutane. Poor wound healing, increased intestinal permeability, leaky gut, irritated mucosal surfaces. So, like, your eyes could be irritated, your mouth, your lips could be irritated. Irritation and photosensitivity, you feel a little too you look at the sun and it feels like way too bright, and you gotta like kind of be Chinese dyes, to like glare it like an Inuit. But in that case, you might be low in riboflavin. So instead of causing leaky organs, it may impair the maintenance and repair of these protective cell membranes. Where's the picture? So usually people, where is it? If you're, so the reason I picked this picture here with the lips and the face and the tongue is these are all indicative of having a potential riboflavin deficiency, because again, it helps you with the membranes of your skin and all that. So again, important for tissues rapid cell turnover, especially influenced by vitamin A. Skin, gastrointestinal lining, mucosal tissue, eye and vascular tissue. Basically, your skin inside and out will be impacted. So if you don't have enough riboflavin, it could be due to low energy and fatigue, and other B vitamins, brain fog and headaches, which may also be molybdenum and electrolytes, cracked lips or mouth corners, people on that thing here. It could be a lack of vitamin C and or zinc. Dermatitis and dandruff-like skin irritation could be a combination of also with zinc. Peeling and skin around the nails, zinc and glycine. Slow wound healing, combination of also zinc, calcium, and K2. Dry, inflamed, or light-sensitive eyes, it's going to usually be riboflavin, but I think to some extent vitamin E too. Cracked or peeling skin on the feet, no zinc. Increased sensitivity to oxidative or inflammatory stress, everything. So if oxidative stress skin barriers, its integrity is lost, right? What happens is the histamine metabolism can be impaired, and you have a more reactive response, right? A compound like nickel can act as a hat-thin in sensitive individuals that may further aggravate skin irritation, immune activation, GI discomfort, and histamine-related symptoms. And your barrier is your skin, and your skin is your biggest organ, and because of that, it's inside and outside your body, right? So I don't want to say human centipede, but inside and out, your body is all impacted. People on a high vitamin diet are usually able to reduce the dryness of their skin when going on low vitamin A diet and replenishing lost nutrients. Riboflavin is one of those guys that helps B vitamins everywhere, right? It's one of those guys you always have, and that's reliable, and it helps everyone out. So it's just a little summary. So some symptoms can look like low energy, dandruff, cracked lips, peeling skin around the nails, slow wound healing, dermatitis, brain fog, headaches, cracked peeling soles, dry inflamed eyes, light sensitivity. When paired with the nickel, it could all be worse. With excess vitamin A and PUFA seed oils bioaccumulating in the skin, sunburning can occur easily as it's oxidizing and breaking it down. Thus, this may increase your need for vitamin B2, as sunlight will use it up, so you have more demand for needing B2. So, deficiency could be linked to cancer, preeclampsia in women, anemia, diabetes, dermatitis, cataracts, high blood pressure, and brown violet Van Leer syndrome. For the most part, if you notice the patterns with skin, it'll be B2. I need some water. Now B3. B3 is it's a popular guy now, solely due to the fact that people take NAD, they feel amazing, and it's like, all right, you might just have a deficiency. So, all right, let's get on with it. You need niacin for cell production and energy production, DNA repair. Again, oxidative stress with detoxing. Coenzyme form NAD+, which is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and NAP+, are vital for mitochondrial metabolism and redox balance. And so now, too much can be bad, you're depleted. So why do you need B3? It actually helps you with PARP, right? It's called poly-ADP ribose polymerase. And so it helps your body repair damaged DNA. PARP, again, like everything else in the body, it needs energy, NAD, to repair damaged DNA and maintain your genomic stability. PARP activity could be elevated, NAD stores may be depleted, and cell energy production may decline. This could create a situation in which a body is forced to divert from NAD+ towards survival and repair rather than optimal mitochondrial function for more energy. This is why people, when they take NAD overnight, bam, energy comes back, which is good, right? But I think it's good in that you're probably missing B3, and it's a good sign that you probably have a little bit of everything else. That's decent. So NAD is essential for converting food into usable cell energy, functions with glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, electron transport chain. When impaired, your ability to oxidize and use glucose declines, so, kind of like B1, carbon tolerance. Mitochondrial ATP production fails, so less energy. This can look like fatigue after eating, basically similar signs to thiamine deficiency. So aldehyde dehydrogenase and alcohol dehydrogenase system requires NAD+ to metabolize reactive aldehydes, alcohol-derived metabolites, lipid peroxidation. So this would increase your need for NAD to make the energy for your dehydrogenases to detox. So you need to have more B3 for your detox. That's why some people prefer nicotinic acid to help further stimulate detox. But if you do too much, you could overdo it and feel like shit. Just to keep in mind. So B3 can be synthesized from amino acid tryptophan through the pathways that depend on riboflavin, vitamin B6, iron, and other cofactors. Now, riboflavin becomes deficient, especially due to a deficiency in B3. Then the conversion of tryptophan to NAD+ may be less efficient, which means you're going to have more nutrient deficiencies all around. Which is why I tell people to eat more meat. Meat's very nutrient-dense. It's got a lot of your B vitamins, especially the ones you need. It's got your minerals. For the most part, it'll be the most nutrient-dense thing you eat that isn't toxic. It also plays a role with your mood, serotonin, melatonin production, because you need tryptophan for serotonin, right? So if you're not having enough of your B vitamins and you're trying to use up tryptophan for the conversion into B3, that could be a big sign there. So when you're lacking NAD, again, everything in your body needs it, especially your thyroid. So you can notice you're feeling colder, less stress tolerance, slower recovery, low energy and mental fatigue, because low NAD could impact your thyroid. So, not having enough B3 could look like fatigue and low energy, brain fog, less concentration, anxiety, basically B1 deficiency, but with the addition of insomnia, or bad sleep, feeling cold, because of inability to regulate temperature, right? Or even when you're too hot, you can't cool down, sweating. Reduce exercise capacity, poor detox, and slower metabolic function. So in a very severe B3 deficiency, pellagra, you could have these lesions in your face. And it's not a big deal, right? But this was a big deal back in the old days when people would eat a lot of corn. What happened is the corn wasn't mixed with lime, Lime, and soaked overnight. And when this would happen, this would help activate and unleash B3 to then be utilized by the body when you eat it, right? So this is why when you buy a corn product, right, you want it to be like nixtamalized corn, which means it went through the lime process to unleash and activate the B3. But again, right, if you eat plenty of meat, eggs, and milk, you'll be fine. No big deal. But if you eat corn that's not nixtamalized, I'm Mexican and I'm butchering it. But point being, right, a lot of corn and a lot of alcohol can deplete you in B3. So keep that in mind, right? You'll notice a pattern, right? When it comes to B vitamins, the more alcohol you drink, the more alcohol it's going to fuck up your liver. And the more it fucks up your liver, it's not because it's, going to kill it directly. It's that you have to convert the alcohol into aldehydes and then convert that and then to detox it. And it's a big strain on your B vitamins. This is why alcoholics, when they take B vitamins, they feel a little better. But at the same time, right, you shouldn't be drinking a lot or at all, right? Well, there's no meaningful benefit to alcohol that I've seen in any and all research. It's like, stop playing with yourself and stop drinking and take responsibility. Pretty much. That's it. Okay, B5. Now, it's required for the production of coenzyme A. It's one of the most essential molecules in metabolism. Coenzyme A is involved in energy production, fatty acid metabolism, steroid hormone synthesis, acetylation reactions, and mitochondrial function and detoxification. It 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 it's just kind of like BT, right? It helps with a lot of things all at once. So it's an important guy. So for the purposes of detox, with amino acid conjugation and acetylation, you want to make sure your B5 is enough because we'll be using that to, in your conversions. Coenzyme A is important to the mitochondrial ATP production. It helps convert pyruvate into acetyl coenzyme A, so it helps you with, thiamine and the niacin. Entry of fats and carbs into the tricarboxylic acid cycle, fatty acid oxidation to turn your fats into energy. So important if you're, a fat-based person, keto or low carb. Helps with cholesterol and steroid synthesis. If impaired, again, less energy. Specifically, if you're just terrible with stress, and stress kicks your ass and, you just can't deal with shit, it's going to be a B5 deficiency. If B1 and magnesium didn't already help you. Just keep in mind. Fatigue and metabolic inefficiency could develop. It helps you overall with all energy. Important for adrenal signaling molecules, acetylcholine and lipid metabolism pathways, steroid hormones, periods of stress, poor sleep, increased detox demand will increase the utilization of your B5 and to a potential deficiency, right? So keep that in mind. It could help people with tolerance when it comes to stress, energy support. So some people may use a calcium pantothenate supplement and they feel just better, like a stress was taken off, like a heavy weight was lifted. That'd be the easiest way to say it. So symptoms could be fatigue and low stamina, again stress, right? Mental exhaustion or just like complete burnout, like you can't anymore, you can't deal with it. Burning fever sensation or paresthesia, sleep disruption, irritability or mood instability, and reduced exercise recovery. Now again, it's deeply integrated into mitochondrial metabolism and acetyl coenzyme production. Symptoms can overlap with the rest of B vitamins, which is kind of annoying, so a B complex in that regard could kind of help. But again, right, we'll talk about that later. So yeah, B5 is ubiquitous. It's like almost in every food, right? But the thing is, if you're going through a lot of detox demand, leavening toxicity, mold, high amounts of stress that are crazy, then in that case you might need to do some kind of vitamin B5 supplementation. I put this in the wrong place for some reason. But essentially, if you have a deficiency in B3, niacin, you could see diarrhea, dementia, dermatitis of your skin, right? You're mentally not well, as we talked about with the confabulations. Dilated cardiomyopathy, you have issues with your heart. Disturbance of your gait, like you're not walking well or you're easily thrown off balance. That could be a sign. Debility, like you're just tired. Like you have diminished energy, basically fatigue. I think debility is used in that if you take your B3 and you feel better and you get back your energy, then basically like it's a short-term thing, right? That's what's meant by debility. Then you got B6, pyridoxal 5-phosphate, neurotransmitters and detox stress. Vitamin B6 in its active form is one of the most versatile metabolic cofactors needed for neurotransmitter synthesis for your mental health, amino acid metabolism and catabolism, glutathione production, heme synthesis of your iron, hormone metabolism, and detoxification and transsulfuration pathways. As you know, a lot of vitamin A, increased stress demand, you need more of this, especially for the aldehydes your body has to detox, blah blah. So what makes B6 essential, right, is you need it for the regulation of your mental health, right, neurotransmitters, which means you gotta eat protein so B6 can do its magic. Serotonin via aromatic L-amino acid decarboxylase, dopamine through decarboxylation, reactions involved in catecholamine synthesis, GABA through glutamate decarboxylase, which converts excitatory glutamate into excitatory into calming GABA, which is gamma gamma aminobutyric acid, right? GABA. Because of this, it can contribute to anxiety and overstimulation, irritability, low mood or depression, again, bad sleep, reduced stress, impaired focus and cognitive function. So what kind of hate about a lot of B vitamin deficiency stuff is like it all overlaps with energy and feeling, fatigue. Because they all play some role in the giant puzzle of helping your body convert energy. This here, all these things, right? And bam, you get, the powerhouse of the cell working as intended. Needed for the kynurenine pathway, which converts tryptophan into intermediate, used for NAD plus production, neurotransmitter balance, immune regulation. So B6 dependent enzymes are impaired due to a lack of B6, then you have trouble with the conversion of your tryptophan. Less energy, and neuroactive metabolites may accumulate, which is what we see in people take a ton of vitamin B6 to get B6 toxic. It's stuck in their nerves. They need an increased amount of riboflavin and zinc and magnesium to, metabolize it and get through the toxicity. B6 plays a role in transsulfuration pathway through the enzyme cystathionine beta synthase. It helps convert homocysteine into cysteine, which you need for glutathione, taurine, and sulfur-containing antioxidants and detox compounds. If you have a lack of B6, then homocysteine levels may rise. Your doctor may test you on that, right? You may have less glutathione production. You may have a little more stressed. You need it for heme synthesis, right? For your iron, right? Required for hemoglobin production, oxygen transport, and cytochrome enzymes with mitochondria. With the mitochondria, like what's called the like some heme iron clusters, whatever we call them. Also with the energy part of it. This creates another link between B6 deficiency and mitochondrial dysfunction. Heme synthesis needs iron, right? Women. I'm talking to the women here. And the soy boy men. And I mean to have a very honest, straightforward conversation. And the reason I say this, and actually everybody, because standard American diet kind of fucked everybody. Point being, you need to eat more meat. Red meat. Red meat has heme. When you eat your steak or eat your meat, right, and you see the red stuff, it's not blood, it's heme. It's heme iron. It's the stuff your body can easily use to help your body with iron. So if you have an issue with iron and you're low, you're anemic, you look at your platelets, they're terrible. Your doctor is like making fun of you because it's like, eat more beef, don't be fucking afraid. Or maybe you got someone crazy saying, meat's going to kill you despite lack of evidences and people are doing better on meat. Point being, don't be afraid of meat. Meat's not going to kill you. It's good for you. And I put a lot of my clients on a meat-heavy diet, right? And they do amazing. So don't be afraid of meat. When you order your steaks, please do medium. Don't overcook that shit. When it's medium, it's cooked properly. There's no parasites. They're killed in the heating process. It's still enough of the raw, I guess you could call it. If you're going to be an asshole like that, that it's going to have enough iron for your body to nourish you, to not be anemic. So women, you bleed every month because your body is preparing you to have an amazing baby, right? But, as you bleed, you need more blood, right? That's just the way it is. So please, women, eat a lot more beef. You will feel amazing day or night. Your periods will get better. Your cramping will feel a lot less terrible. The PMSing, right? We need to do better for our women, right? So women, please stop being afraid of red meat. It's going to be your best friend as it helps you with replenishing your blood. If you're someone who's been in an accident and you lost blood, eat plenty of, meat, red meat, beef, bison, lamb, all good for you. And, if you like it more bloody, you like it rare, go for it, right? I don't care. Point being, this is the best form of iron your body can get, heme iron, as opposed to some of the pills you take that are garbage, they constipate you, and you feel terrible, especially with infusions, right? Like, there's a way to do things by feeding your body properly. Like the Bible says, do not be afraid, be not afraid. Enjoy the meat, please. So, B6 helps women with estrogen metabolism to balance it. Also, in conjunction with zinc, helps with liver phase 2 conjugation pathways, steroid hormone balance. When you start to lack B6, your body may not properly metabolize, and you have issues with estrogen, of course, PMS-like symptoms, mood fluctuations, water retention and bloating. So again, right, B6 is to be paired with zinc and magnesium, and B2 for the initial part of the conversion. Now, if you're going to take a B6 supplement, I often don't recommend it, because they're crazy high doses, and people come to me pleading for help that they have like terrible peripheral neuropathy and they feel like shit. So please don't take a B6 supplement. If you have to, you could take like no more than like 20 milligrams, right? But if you have a diet, which should be rich, right? In the food list, and you eat enough of that food, you should be fine in B6, right? Okay, so what if you don't have enough B6? What would you feel like? Anxiety and irritability, could be low zinc, could be high copper and nickel. Depression or low dopamine states, it could be low protein, because you need the protein, specifically beef, right? Animal-based protein, the best you could get. So I say this from the perspective of it being a complete protein. That's all the amino acids that you need, right? That your body can't make. So you then give your body the raw material it needs, so B6 can help you with your mental health. That's how it works. Insomnia and poor sleep quality could be a lack of B1, magnesium and B5, brain fog. B vitamins as a whole help you with all that, right? Migraines and headaches, you may need electrolytes. Histamine sensitivity, hives or itching, you could need B1, molybdenum or zinc. Fatigue and low hemoglobin related symptoms. Iron and zinc, remember, eat your meat at least medium, right? I'm not telling you do it blue rare or raw. Do it medium, you'll be fine, no parasites, and it's good for you, right? Don't be afraid of it. It's going to nourish your body in ways a shitty iron supplement cannot do. So keep that in mind, right? And get over that mental block. Because people have a mental block. Oh, I don't want to eat the blood, like you're too fucking good for people. It's like, no, that's not what it is. It's not the blood, it's heme. That's why they cook it. You cook it to cook out the blood, so you got the heme, right? Heme is a beautiful, amazing gift that the animal has bestowed upon us, and you choose to overcook it and be anemic. Don't. Then we have mood swings and poor stress tolerance, again, B vitamins and minerals, glutamate, overstimulation, and sensory sensitivity, B vitamins and minerals, right? So again, as I said, beware B6 toxicity. If you're a person who's experienced B6 toxicity, please click the link and read what I wrote about it to help you, right? There's support groups and all sorts of people that they've been damaged and they need support, right? But what I see is a lack of help. I mean, like therapy, right? Therapy is good and all that kind of shit, right? But if you're eating a poor diet with low protein and like no B vitamins and no minerals and stuff, right? Of course you'd be mentally fucked up, right? I don't give a shit how many times you go to a therapist, right? Or a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a Freudian, whatever you call those people, right? Or CBT, which is not what you think it is. It's cognitive behavioral therapy. And essentially, you do all the therapy in the world, right? And grow as a person. But if you don't have the fuel you need for your brain to be functional, to balance your mental health, to balance your neurotransmitters and to make them, then you have an issue. But if you're kind of crazy, like honestly, honest to God, you're crazy, talk to your doctor about checking your COMT and your MTHFR genes, and that would explain a lot. B7. Okay, I like biotin a lot. And the reason I like biotin a lot is because it's kind of like protein, right? You think about protein, right? You think muscles and the gym bros and like the end. I'm like, no, I just told you, like, protein's really good for you in terms of your mental health, right? And making enzymes. It does a lot in the body. B7 is always skin, right? Because you got the chicks on Instagram with the big racks taking B7 and they're like so pretty and amazing. But, like they get plastic surgery and they go to med spas and like they're as fake as Korean chicks after a high school graduation. Point being, right? B7 is a lot more than that. B7 is also really good for helping diabetics and people with blood sugar regulation issues. So let's go. So it's an essential cofactor for several enzymes involved in fatty acid metabolism, glucose utilization, amino acid metabolism, cell energy, and gene regulation and metabolic signaling. So it's a lot more than just skin, right? It helps you with metabolism, which is pretty awesome. Because of that, you have these carboxylase enzymes like pyruvate carboxylase for glucose metabolism, helps you in the Krebs cycle. Acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase helps you with your fatty acid metabolism to, use your fats, membrane synthesis of your cells. Propionyl coenzyme A carboxylase required for amino acid and odd chain fatty acid metabolism, especially if you're keto, you're taking the like MCT oil, right? 3-methylcrotonol coenzyme A carboxylase, important for metabolizing your branched chain amino acids and metabolism. So it helps you with energy, right? In more ways than one. So it also has to be balanced, right? Because you have biotin, pantothenic acid, B5, and lipoic acid, and they go through the sodium-dependent multivitamin transport. So again, right, like if you take too much of one B vitamin, then you have an imbalance, and that could cause issues. So, again, we're here for balance. Excessive retinoids may contribute to reduced efficiency of biotin transport, altered cell intake, again, right, too much bad. But biotin is important for maintaining your skin barrier function, the structure of the keratin, like hair, lipid metabolism within the skin, because skin and hair follicles have high rates of turnover, right? They're very sensitive to disruptions in mitochondrial energy production and nutrient-dependent repair systems. So again, you took Accutane, or you ate a bunch of liver, or cod liver oil, whatever have you, right? So your skin looks better, but it's turning over quicker, right? Like, in a sense, like it's aging quicker. But over time, like you get more wrinkly. Like you can't bullshit it. So biotin-dependent metabolism becomes impaired. Dermatitis, inflamed skin, gray flaky skin, brittle nails, hair thinning, and/or reduced hair resilience. So if your hair is becoming really thin, women, I know it's a big issue for you girls who like to style your hair like amazing. Hair resilience, like you're losing clumps of hair sometimes, or it breaks easy. It's not as flexible as it should, like when you pull on it. Helps you with insulin signaling, glucose oxidation, metabolic flexibility. It helps you with carb-heavy meals if you're intolerant, fatigue after eating, blood sugar instability, and increased insulin resistance patterns to certain individuals. Went over this, so, blood sugar instability and/or insulin resistance tendencies. For some, brittle nails. So I argue a biotin deficiency may arise in a diet due to standard American diet, high sugar, high carbs, high seed oils, and low protein, because they tend to like B vitamins. The grains that they're fortified, they're shitty, crappy versions of what you're getting, so that doesn't help you as much. So when paired with Accutane, it's logical to understand why some people have symptoms of low energy, fatigue, and potential blood sugar issues like prediabetes and type 2. So the reason people on Accutane, right, kind of notice their A1C is a bit higher is, again, right, still standard American diet, still sad, and not improving. B9. B9 is important. It helps you with cell repair, methylation, your neurotransmitter to be regulated, red blood cell production. Biologically active form is 5-methyltetrahydrofolate, needed for 1-carbon metabolism and your methylation. So what makes B9 very important is you need it to repair your body, similar to PARP, right, and B3, as it helps repair your body for the DNA and genetics. It helps you repair DNA damage, and as we know, vitamin A in high amounts, high dose, the toxicity, it could damage your cells, it could damage the instructions in your DNA. And I think, to some degree, this is what may be the cause for autoimmune systems to occur, right? Because your body has, let's think of computer code, right? You write a computer code, you hit enter, and it does what it's supposed to do, right? Imagine if over time your code got corrupted on the computer, you hit the enter button, and let's say like you wrote a code to make a website, right? And then it got corrupted, right? And you push the enter button, and the website's missing characters, it's missing pictures, it looks ugly, the color's wrong. And no matter how many times you hit enter, right, you never fix the code, so you're always going to get the same outcome, right? That's how I view autoimmunity. So people that take calcium folinate slash folinic acid, not folic acid, or, they take the quatropfolic acid, right, or the methylfolate, they notice big improvements when taking this over. It takes time, though. Like, it's not an overnight thing. So people over time, right, they feel better. Even children that are claimed to be autistic, when they take calcium folinate or calcium folinate slash folinic acid, a lot of kids, right? I think they use a medication called Lecuverin, right? But you could get, calcium folinate over the counter. The children, they could speak and they're not autistic anymore, and they're a lot less pronounced in their symptoms, right? They can become verbal and basically become a little normal, right? Again, depends on the severity of their autism, right? And that's just the DNA repair damage part of it, right? I mean, this is not even accounting for the aluminum or heavy metal toxicity that they might be influenced by, right? So you need it for DNA replication, cell repair, repetition turnover, right? Because you have the base excision repair, DNA synthesis to fix the nucleotides in there. You need it for the conversions, right? For folate activation, methylation capacity, DNA synthesis. If you have high homocysteine, as we talked about with B12 and B6 and B2, you need them all to work together. It recycles homocysteine into methionine to support methylation, and directly helps you with, your glutathione and other stuff, right? Especially when it comes to, like, things that use up your sulfur, right? Like your methionine, like your taurine, like your cysteine. So, folate, it helps with cell division, like your bone marrow, GI lining, skin and mucosal tissue, and reproductive tissue. If not, this could be related to infertility, impaired red blood cell production, reduced tissue repair, and slow healing and regeneration of wounds. Again, it helps you with DNA stability, immune cell replication, stronger immune system. And yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I don't have a reason to talk more about this. It repairs your DNA, and I kind of feel over time as I help more clients out, right, that to an extent, B9 is almost foundational. Because I don't know if people may have, maybe you were dealt a bad card, right? And you were given the motherfucker gene, as they call it, right? The methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme reductase gene just isn't working the way it's supposed to, right? And they're taking folic acid, which is the synthetic, shitty version, and that's all you have, fine, whatever, right? But we're, again, as I say, we're in a first world country. You could buy calcium folinate, you could buy methyl folate, you could skip over this issue, and boom, your body will turn on. People notice this, right? When they stop taking folic acid, that garbage crap, synthetic. Because what happens is when you take a lot of folic acid and you have that gene mutation, right? You can have a backup in what's called unmetabolized folic acid. So it kind of clogs your system, like a DMB, and you're left with a folate deficiency despite having this long line waiting to become the usable form of your folate, right? Just to keep in mind. And then the RDA for it is funny because half of the RDA will clog you up. So already it's like counterintuitive. Last but not least, B12, cobalamin, methylation bottlenecks, and neurological dysfunction. So, you need it for methylation, right? Paired with your B6, your B9 and B2. Red blood cell formation paired with your iron. Nervous system integrity, DNA synthesis, and mitochondrial energy metabolism. Again, a lot of vitamin A depletes it. B12 has a function as a cofactor for methionine synthase. Again, helps with the conversion of the methylation groups. Homocysteine to methionine. using methyl groups supplied by your folate. Methionine is used to then generate SAMe, which is S-adenylyl-methionine, which acts as the body's methyl donors for your neurotransmitters, for your DNA regulation, your membrane maintenance, your hormone metabolism, and your detox systems like your acetylation and amino acid conjugation. So if strained or you're lacking of methylation, homocysteine may rise, impaired DNA repair efficiency, and you get a sort of metabolic bottleneck. So B12 is important, right? Especially when you're looking at vegans. So let me tell you something really important and interesting. A vegan could not exist naturally in the world because they would literally die of B12 deficiency. I don't care about people's perspective or ideals or theories. If you don't get B12, where do you get it from? You get it from animal foods. So I'm tired of the argument that it's good for you when if you naturally went vegan, you would just fucking die due to a B12 deficiency. And it's a hell of a domino to fuck with. And there's been a lot of people who are vegans very proudly ending up in the hospital. So if you're vegan and you're watching this and you have this weird belief that naturally in the world humans were vegan vegetarians, that's far from the truth. We've always eaten meat. Do not be afraid of meat. So B12 is critical for your myelin maintenance, your nerve damage, right? So you have something called the myelin sheath, right? You have like the ends of the nerves, right? On the axons. This little sheet protects it, like the little shoelaces, you know? The little aglets, I guess that's what you call them, right? And that helps you with the connection of your nerves, right? But if that's damaged due to glycation, high sugar, oxidation, right? Even high vitamin A, then you have damaged myelin sheath. And especially when you're on a low fat diet, because paired with your B12, right, your body needs to have a good amount of fat, and the fat helps you rebuild the myelin sheath. Nerve connection for movement, neuronal repair, mitochondrial energy production, and nervous tissue, brain fog. And it's dependent on your methylation and your ATP production, right? Because again, neurons, your brain. If impaired, nerve signaling efficiency may decline, myelin repair may become compromised. There could be neurological symptoms that emerge, like numbness and tingling and weakness and cognitive slowing, memory impairment, poor coordination, mood instability and anxiety. Now to the blood. You need it for synthesis of your DNA and rapidly dividing cells, proper maturation of red blood cells. If impaired, you can have abnormally sized red blood cells. You may have less oxygen delivery. Fatigue and weakness may worsen. This could be low stamina, shortness of breath, exercise intolerance, and chronic fatigue. Because again, right, your mitochondria needs oxygen being delivered to your red blood cells. If not, then it's impaired and it could be problematic. This can also be related to anemia-related fatigue, right, because they all work together. Another symptom could be joint pain, hair loss, ankylosis, where you have that red kind of beefy tongue. That looks like real bright. So, more of the story, right, is too much vitamin A can cause nutrient-induced deficiencies because you're driving up demand for your body to process it and to metabolize it and to detox it. And over time, if you're not taking your B vitamins, right, or your good one, I guess I could say, if you're not eating a healthy diet that's well-rounded, you know, that I talk about, a low-toxin diet that's nutrient-dense, then you're probably not getting enough nutrients to have your body perform at an optimal level as you're dealing with the detox of vitamin A. This may especially be true when you're having rapid weight loss after taking Accutane. You may feel incredibly like shit, because again, you're increasing demand of not just your B vitamins, but also your minerals like zinc, like your selenium, like your molybdenum, and magnesium, and your sodium. And that's pretty much the end of part 2. I went a little quicker on this one, because I kind of, you know, went past the part 2 introductions and that stuff in part 1, right? So yeah, if you're concerned about having nutrient deficiency, I want you to read my articles and figure out which one you might be missing. But what I will say, right, is there's this one B vitamin I found. It's a low dose B vitamin, right? Like compared to the other crazy high dose B vitamins, which were like 1,000, 10,000 RDA. Crazy, right? Because I established on my B6 guide, right, and B vitamin, balance, is not all B vitamins are peed out, right? Yeah, they're water soluble, but like B1 and B7, you could pee them out easily, right? And you're gonna need a lot more of it. B6, you gotta process that. B12, you gotta process that. B9, you gotta process that. You can't just piss them out easily, right? B3, to an extent, you gotta metabolize all that, right? It's not as easy as you PP it and like the end, and it's expensive. What do some people call it? It's expensive pee? No, because the reality is you're essentially just peeing out a few things, right? Especially B2. B2, you piss out easily because you can see that lime green kind of Gatorade color when you pee it out. So you will need more B1. You need more B2, B7. Despite there being some recycling, you could have a increased need for it. So I recommend this. It's called a Better B by Progressive Professionals. Take it, experiment with it, see how you feel. I only recommend taking one. I don't recommend overdoing things or overdosing things, because then you may feel worse in such a way where it's hard to understand why you feel worse. So again, right, experiment with it and find out what works best with you, and see if you feel increasingly better when you take Better B. I like it because it's not as high as the other ones, and you should feel relatively good or okay with it, right? You take it, you feel energy, then that means you were deficient in B vitamins. If you're taking B vitamins and you're still taking it and you don't feel any more energized, or you don't feel more natural energy, odds are the B vitamins, you don't need it, or you're good in them, right? But even if it's not an energy problem and you're improving in different ways, it could be a potential deficiency yet in one of the other B vitamins, right? Because again, it's a complex, right? You got what, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9, B12. That's like what, 8? It's like 8 things at least you need for your body to work well. Not even counting your minerals. So again, yeah, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want to have an appointment with me, just you could email me. You could reach out to me on Patreon. I like emails because you could lay down everything and I could read it and I could have a good guesstimation. My appointments are $149 per appointment, which is pretty affordable compared to the fucking assholes charging like a $6,000, $10,000 3-month thing, and you get worse. I have my patients spend as little money as possible because the people I work with are impoverished, right? So I have to work within the constraints of not a lot of money. So that means food becomes your source of energy and your source of nutrition and what powers you through, right? I'm not like these other people, right, that have you spend hundreds of dollars on supplements, because that's crazy and it's not tenable. It's unrealistic. I'm trying to think, like, if we were back in nature, like, what would we do? And yeah, it's all about getting as much as you can from your diet, figuring out where you're lacking, and to correct it. That way you hit a balance in your body. Especially for vitamin A toxicity, right? That's going to take you some years to overcome, right? And I'm hoping as people get on the diet, right, and they feel better, they can then experiment with, themselves a little more, push detox, slow detox, and do what's best for their body to eventually get better. So yeah, I'll make it short because I'm going to be pretty busy tomorrow. But yes, guys, thank you. I love y'all. Have an amazing day. If you want to see this video and chunk it up, put it on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, you have my permission. And I say this because vitamin toxicity, it's becoming a bigger thing, right? And more people need help. And I think it's kind of crazy how this Accutane, Isotretinoin, just hasn't been banned. Because I don't see any situation in which you need this. I've helped people prevent Accutane by fixing their diet, and their acne went away, and they're beautiful, and they're happy, and because again, right, like the whole point is you fix your liver. And if your liver is getting the nutrients and it's clogged up, the stress bucket, right, a lot of things are messing with it. You get to the point where you gotta, eat healthy. I don't even want to say eat healthy anymore. I say eat healthy, and it goes over people's heads, right? Because if you ask 100 people to define what healthy is, they'll give you crazy answers, right? Like liver or kale or spinach or like a juice cleanse or you name it. I mean, they'll put some bullshit in there, right? So I'm gonna call it a low toxin diet, just to for the sake of brevity, to make it condensed, clear, and easy. They read my stuff to know what a low toxin diet is, and it makes more sense, right? Because healthy is too much of a buzzword, and we all know people who've done healthy diets, and they're not better, and sometimes they've done it worse. And I want to kind of correct that and fix that so we could have a very neutral, low toxin diet that could be a base, similar akin to an elimination diet, but something that's going to be foundational, right? And that makes sense. All right, so yeah, I love you guys. Thank you. God bless you, and stay amazing.